Have you ever had a very protein or meat heavy meal and noticed that when you take your insulin, you bolus, you think you're doing everything right, yet hours after you eat, you notice that your blood sugar starts to spike a little bit, starts to rise unexpectedly, and when you try to take more R next time to compensate and avoid that rise later on, you end up dropping too low. What is happening here? Well, for many of us, including me, who eat a lot of protein in one sitting, what it could be is that your R insulin is just not lasting long enough. And I know before I've said that R insulin is the best insulin for dealing with protein because it lasts so long. And this is true. But sometimes, if you eat a lot of protein at once, especially if you have some fat with it, the prolonged protein rise from that large amount of protein might be too long for just one dose of R. So what do you do about that? Well, I've found that works very well in order to keep a flat line, in order to avoid dropping too low or racing high hours and hours after I eat, is splitting my bolus. Splitting your bolus basically means instead of taking one injection right before you eat, you might take two injections, or dare I say even three. Now, many of you watching this might already know about splitting your bolus, might know about even just using your pump, for example, to extend your bolus. But I just wanted to throw that tip out there because when I started experiencing this first, I did not know about splitting my bolus. And when I learned about splitting my bolus, that made all the difference. So when you split your bolus, how do you do it? Well, that's really going to be up to trial and error, honestly. I'll tell you the way I do it right now. With half a pound of beef, I will bolus 2 units before eating it, and then another 2 units 2 hours later. That's my specific regimen right now, and doing that split rather than 4 units at once, rather than just the 2 units before, ensures I end up a flat line throughout dinner, hours and hours and hours later. Now, that's just for me. How you split your bolus might be completely different. You might need to split just an hour later, you might need to split 3 hours later. You might need to bolus more before you eat and less after, or bolus more after you eat and less before. It's all going to depend on your specific situation and also what kind of meat you're eating. You know, chicken's not the same as beef. They have different fat and protein profiles, and the amount of fat and protein in the meat is going to make a difference in how long that protein lasts and how quickly it hits you. The best way to find out truly is to just keep your meals consistent and experiment. Experiment as many times as it takes in order to find that flat line in order to tame type 1. So keep that Tame 1 tip in mind. If you're having trouble with blood sugar spikes long after you eat, you might need to try splitting your bolus. Give it a go, experiment, do what you can, and hopefully that'll help you tame your type 1.